Good evening, one and all. I am A. Rajesh, Associate Professor of Computer Science Engineering Department. Welcome all on fifth day of 6 days online faculty development program on emerging trends and technologies in cybersecurity, organized by Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Guru Nanak Institute of Technology. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce today's distinguished speaker, Mr. Gnaneswar Ankamgari, working as Solution Consultant, Trellix Pvt Ltd, Hyderabad. He has rich experience in cybersecurity industry and also worked on various domains. His expertise includes implementation and optimization of solutions on drive, encryption, FRP, email security, and also on network security. He is proficient in preparing high-level and low-level design documents, performing health watch assessments. He also supports pre-sales activities and also provides best practice guidance to large-scale customers. He previously worked with Deloitte, TCS, and Genpact too. Now I warmly invite Mr. Gnaneswar Ankamgari to take over and start the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thanks for giving the wonderful introduction about myself. So, today we are going to discuss on the one of the important topic of the cybersecurity technology, which is vulnerability management. So, we have a full packed agenda for today to cover the next 1 hour. So, first we'll try to understand some of the basic details of the vulnerability management, and after that we are going to talk about the importance of vulnerability management and how we can utilize it very well in order to improve the security. And we'll go with the in-depth explanation about this complete concept. So to give a start, first I would like to talk a little bit about the frequent updates why we are getting for each and every application, and also I would like to talk about the software development life cycle as well. So especially when you are utilizing any application, it might be on your mobile phone or a laptop. So the first thing is, if you understand the software development life cycle, if a company wants to publish or maybe release any application, you might consider about the basic examples of Swiggy, Zomato, or maybe the regular applications what we are using on a daily basis. So the first, company will decide a business goal, what is the purpose of their business, and to deliver that they are going to build an application. Of course, the developers will various developing technologies, various coding methodologies to build that application. Then accordingly, they are going to test it further. Of course, if any issues are found, then they will verify or they'll double check before they release that software into the market. So after you released an update, of course, you're going to get a frequent updates, right? Normally, example, if you're using any mobile application, so first, like at least once in a month or twice in a month, you're going to see updates are available from that particular application. So there are like a few basic requirements why we need updates. And first, we need to understand that in order to go to the vulnerability management or vulnerability assessment related topics. The first thing is, like, if a user is using any application, right, and sometimes there will be an issues, it will not be work as expected, especially, then we are going to report that issue to the particular application owner. Like example, you install your Swiggy application on a mobile phone, but suddenly it stopped working on immediate basis. It's not taking the live location, or it is showing some wrong details even though you're giving the right permissions to it. So it will be like an issue within the application, so, or maybe it's a compatibility issue as well with that hardware or a mobile. So we are going to report that issue to the application owner, so they will fix it. And also at the same time, most of the cases when you receive an update, there will be a common notes. You might see like some new features are added into that particular application. Like example, we have added so and so security features, and we stabilize a lot of issues. Some, if you consider WhatsApp, whenever you receive an update of course you will see some new feature as well. So always updates are helping us to fix some known issues or reported issues by the user. And on top of that, we are going to get new features always from that application latest version as well. And also it will help us to improve the security and of course to protect data or information about that particular user. And the one important item is compatibility with the regulatories or regulations. So example, if you are living in a country, the government will always put some mandatory regulation, so all the applications should maintain that regulations so that it will be like a good to use application or a safe application. And example, whenever you are doing a payment or transaction online, you will see a common term PCI DSS in the same page if you observe it. So whenever you are entering the OTP, in the bottom you will see PCI DSS certified. So it's a payment card industry related like regulatory. So within India, something you want to use as a payment gateway or a website or an application. So definitely you have to maintain that as a regulatory. So always applications will have the latest version because it will fix a lot of issues and it will give features as well. But why this is relevant to our vulnerability management, and we can discuss that in a upcoming few minutes. So before I go further, also I would like to introduce like a few basic terms, and these are actually helping us to understand this particular technology very well. Okay, you might heard about these common words, yeah, if you are familiarized with the cyber security, like you one is assets actually. So of course it's a common term, anybody can relate to us and we can understand what is it. So asset is something, it might be a, I can say it's a living or non-living thing in my opinion. And in terms of cyber security, so I can say my employees laptops, desktops, and the servers, I can use a web servers or database servers. Also the one important item is data or information about a company or an employee. And also we have to consider the intellectual property, which is something owned to me. Like if I'm a example, if I'm a gaming company, I have my intellectual property like a software code or a gaming code. That is something important to me as well. So in terms of any organization, it might be like a software industry or educational organization, so always we have lot of assets which are actually helping us to run your business smoothly. Then there is a one more term called vulnerability. So looks like this is a familiar thing, but technically it's a vulnerability, but sometimes we tend to use some common languages, like a common language words, example a bug or a weakness or a loophole. Generally we keep on hearing these words frequently, right? So the important aspect or the explanation of this vulnerability is, example, you are using a laptop. Of course you're using any of the operating systems such as Windows 10 or a Windows 11, or maybe you might go for a Mac or a Linux operating system. So you will keep on using like a various applications based on your usage as well. Okay, so if any a weakness or a loophole or bug which is available within that system, okay, because you will connect to your internet, you will use various applications. So if there is any weakness that will help an attacker to gain the access of your system, it is a vulnerability. In simple, actually it's a weakness in your system or application. Okay, so why this weakness is more important? Because if I have a weakness, definitely I'll try to penetrate it and I'll try to utilize it. So as a hacker or an authorized person, if somebody wants to access your asset, we will always look for a weakness. Okay, and also, okay, what will happen? Example, if you have a weakness in your system, of course there are chances you might get a negative impact with that vulnerability. Actually that negative event itself a threat for us. Okay, so with that vulnerability, if you're facing any issue or a damage, or maybe something like your regular functionality got disturbed, I can say it's a threat, it's a negative event. So that will be technically explained as a threat for you. And there is a slight combination of this vulnerability and threat. We can talk about one more common word, which is actually a risk. Actually it's a negative negative impact you are facing. Example, you have an asset like your laptop. There is a weakness in that laptop. With that weakness, of course, there is a negative impact might happen. But what is that impact? With that impact, what is your loss actually? That will be the risk for us. So if I want to take an example, especially I have a laptop, but actually I'm not comfortable to put some password. I want to do easy login into my laptop always. So asset here, my laptop is my asset. The vulnerability is actually I'm not having any password. I'm not talking about a weak password or strong password. Even the weak password, of course, we can guess it, but let it be. There is no password. Of course, somebody can open, turn on my laptop, okay, because and they can log in into my laptop. They'll collect my personal information or maybe the data, whatever they want, or else they might hack my system in the background and they'll keep on monitoring my activity as well. So, in terms of a privacy or in terms of maintaining your system secure, so if you have a vulnerability, always there will be a threat. Okay, if that threat is properly utilized, you have to face the consequences. That is actually a risk for us. So, in this example, without password, I'm using my laptop. That will be the vulnerability. And any person can access my laptop. That will be a negative event which might happen. That is my threat. But somebody accessed my laptop, they collect my information, they will use my laptop. Actually, that is the risk which I'm going to face it. So this is like a combination of all the things together. And of course, if you are talking about a vulnerability, of course, asset should be there because it is available or exist in this assets particularly. If you have a vulnerability, it can be utilized as a threat, then you will face the risk. So always all these four terms are actually work together, especially when you're talking about a particular security posture or maybe security or risk assessment, something you might heard about the risk assessment. If you want to understand how much risk actually your asset is facing or how much it is actually risk proning, it is how much risk it contains, then always you have to consider these four words especially. Okay. And coming to the next step, so what is this vulnerability management? Okay, we are talking about some important terminologies, and also we are talking about some other terms as well, like a risk, vulnerability, and everything. Okay, then especially if you are consider about the particular vulnerability management concept, so actually it's a part of the risk assessment process. Okay, so here we'll actually try to understand our infrastructure. So infrastructure means again it will contains various elements like your assets, IT assets, your data, your people like employees, and your clients as well. So actually it's a continuous process to identify the risks which are available in your organization. And the important one more important aspect is identifying the risk is of course important, but which one we have to prioritize, because I have a list of risks which are available in my laptop. Like I have 10 out of 10 risk, which one I should fix first. So always prioritizing the risks are an important aspect. Okay. And apart from that, it's not only to prioritize, we need to fix it as well. So if you fix it, it should actually cover that gap, whatever we have in that application or a system. So vulnerability management is actually a holistic process which will help us to discover the risks or vulnerabilities, loopholes in the infrastructure, and we will prioritize them and we will fix them and we will re-verify them as well. And this is actually the one of the proactive approach to improve the security. So why it is proactive? Because somebody hacked your laptop, later you started realizing it, okay, there is no like adequate security in my laptop, so I want to add antivirus, I want to add some other controls to my laptop. Actually it is not a proactive, right? You are reactive. Something happened, the damage is happened, now you started fixing that damage. Actually that will become a reactive manner. But this vulnerability management is always the proactive approach. Before something happened, you are analyzing or you are discovering your own loopholes, and then you are fixing it actually. Before somebody noticed and misused it, actually you are fixing it. So that is the major intention of this vulnerability management as well. And of course, it's a proactive manner, and most of the organization will always tend to uh, do this on a frequent basis. Okay, so in case if I am not going to do this vulnerability assessment or management, I mean, there is a slight difference in assessment and management. So to identify the gaps, it's an assessment. You're fixing it, then it is a management. That's it. Okay. So if I leave it like identify the vulnerabilities, I left it like this, it's an assessment only. Assessment will give you the output or result of that test. But if you're talking about management, you have to fix that issues as well, whatever is identified in that test. So that will become a complete process of the vulnerabilities. Okay. So if I want to talk about risk, example, I don't want to fix this vulnerability. So especially maybe I'm not well versed with the technology. I don't want to understand, or I don't want to fix these vulnerabilities. So then what will happen? So first thing is there are chances I might lose some intellectual property, data. This is something about how I'm running my business, right? Example, like if you talk about the Zomato or a Swiggy, so they always contains a lot of information about the customers, the different various food vendors. They will always maintain your personal sensitive information such as your address and the location, I mean location coordinates, your email ID, mobile number. A lot of things are there, right? So especially if you're not going to fix that issue within your system or an application, that will become a risk or a threat for you. So because somebody like an attacker exploit that vulnerability, they will try to gain access to your system. So the first important like for the first important item they will look for is the data, because it contains a lot of valuable things in, like it might give you the insights about your personality or insights about your business. So always they will focus on the personal or like a organization level data. An intellectual property, this is something only dedicated to you, it's your own data, right? Like I'm a pharmaceutical industry, like I have my own formulas about the various drugs, that is my intellectual property, even I don't want to lose that as well. And okay, if something happened like a data breach, so unexpectedly an attacker got access to my system, and he or she is able to actually collect my sensitive info, they started misusing it or publishing into the public domains, then the first impact will be the trust. So my customers will lose faith on my business and my business principle and organization. So it's a loss of trust and integrity as well. So integrity is something always you have to maintain the data accurate. You can't alter the data, you can't modify the data. It should be as it is every time. Like the best example is you're using any messaging application, right? Or if you go for a bank, whatever you deposit you'll see the same number, you can't see the different number always. And you are sending like a message on a WhatsApp, you will always get the same message, right? Nobody will change or alter that message in between. That is actually called integrity. You are not allowed to alter or modify the data. So of course integrity issues will come into the picture, and the legal consequences, like somebody like lose their important data, then they might go for the legal opinions, and they will of course there will be legal consequences as well. So there are like if I want to segregate this risks into like a two to three different sections. One is I want to protect my data. What I'm not worried about the what type of data, any information which is about myself or my organization, and I want to maintain the trust with the customer. It will always help us to grow business, and at the same time I want to maintain some compliance and integrity as well, so that customer will start trusting me and they will give more opportunities. So that is actually uh, the risk with open vulnerability. So open vulnerabilities means you know the gap but you're not fixing it actually. That is the meaning. Okay. Then what will actually happen in terms of this vulnerability management? Okay, we are talking about like identifying the gaps. We are talking about, okay, if I'm not fixing it, what will happen, when we are talking about that as well. But especially if you want to understand this a complete process of vulnerability handling, Of course, somebody will say there are 5 individual steps, somebody will say 6 individual steps, like based on their approach and opinion. But if I want to highlight the major aspects in this complete process, the first thing I will start with asset discovery. So what is this asset discovery? As I explained, we have a lot of assets in my organization, right? You will have a laptop, desktops, or maybe various IT gadgets. You have your network devices like switches and routers and applications and everything. And most important item is data for me. So I have to identify the assets actually where I can perform the vulnerability management, because this process will help me to identify the weakness or loopholes in my system. So what type of assets actually I can scan, and what type of assets I can actually focus. Like example, I have 10,000 employees in my organization, right? So they will all use laptops and desktops to maintain or to run my business. I have maybe 100 plus various servers, email server, web server, and other thing. Like, do I run scan on all the assets? Do I run this vulnerability assessment on all the laptops or desktops? Or maybe can I go ahead with my network devices, the like a Wi-Fi router, switches and routers? So this is where actually this asset discovery is an important item. And on top of that, like if you consider any a business, like employees will join, employees will go off, so it's a continuous cycle for us. So like on a monthly basis, somebody left the company, somebody will join a company, so there will be always like a new assets added into your network. So this is one important item to identify the active assets in your network. So which means the systems actually which are active in my organization, where I can perform the vulnerability assessment. Okay, now I got the list of assets. Okay, I have a big list of assets, but how I can prioritize it? Which means I can't run the a particular vulnerability assessment on all the systems at the same time. I need a plan actually, right? How I can do that, and how I can perform the assessment. This is something important for me. So, example, if you consider a bank, during the bank business hours, those bank servers, I mean the particular bank servers will be busy with lot of activities. Of course, deposit transactions will happen, withdrawals will happen, check clearances will happen, loan related, a lot of things are happen, right? So during that particular business hours, if I perform a vulnerability scan, if there is any impact, of course I'll assess before, I'll plan very well before I perform this vulnerability assessment. But is there any impact? I have to understand that as well. So that is where actually prioritization is also one of the important aspect in this plan, because like my users are only available in the business hours, right? Example, after working hours, every employee will go off. I can't scan their system. So especially we have to understand what time we will perform this vulnerability scan on different assets. So that is where actually prioritization will comes into the picture. So the regular practice, what actually we recommend, do the vulnerability scan on user systems during the daytime, perform the vulnerability scan on the network devices and servers during the non-business hours, because there will be less impact, and always it is not utilized completely during that non-business hours, right? After 5 or 6, if I can run a scan on bank servers, it will be safe for me, because the regular working hours are done, so there will be less utilization or usage of that particular servers. So that is how actually we are have to always prioritize. Then the main like a role in this plan is assessment. Okay, now my main agenda or goal is to perform the assessment, but how I can do that? Because I have to utilize the best option always, so which will give me like a more appropriate or a good results, right? Because my intention is to identify the gaps, something which I can't utilize very well, then there is no use of this assessment. So this is where actually we have to understand the process, how this vulnerability management or assessment will happen. So first of all, we have a devices called vulnerability scanners. So scanners is kind of an hardware appliance. Even you can purchase software as well. So if you purchase a software, you have to install it on a system that will perform the scan for you. Then if you are purchasing as an appliance, like your Wi-Fi router is an appliance, right? Hardware appliance. So this will help you to scan your complete network. So during the scan, on what basis I'll say there is a vulnerability? Because always I need a reference, right? Like if you want to identify the vulnerability, I need a criteria. Without criteria, I can't say there is something exists in my user laptop, right? So always vulnerability scanners will use various signatures. Signatures will like a patterns which are helping us to identify the known vulnerabilities. Again, I'm using the word called known vulnerabilities. The known vulnerabilities means somebody like a security researchers or that particular vendor like a I'm using Chrome, I'm using Adobe Reader, I'm using Microsoft Office, even I'm using Microsoft operating system 10 or 11. So always these vendors will help us to understand the known issues in that application. They're always their R&D or engineering team will identify some vulnerabilities and they will give you, okay, I have so and so issue in one version. So why don't you go for a 1.1? Because 1.1 will fix that known issue here. So during this vulnerability assessment, actually the scanner, whatever you're using, actually they will provide you the signatures like a patterns to identify the vulnerabilities. Example, I'm using a Qualys guard. This is one of the repetitive vendor who can you can provide you the vulnerability scanning solutions. So daily basis they will give some signatures that will be downloaded into your scanner from the internet. And when I'm scanning a laptop, the laptop softwares will be compared with the signatures. If any match is found related to that pattern or a signature, it will say, okay, a vulnerability is identified in this particular system. This is from the Chrome application, example. So there are like different types of scans as well. I'll discuss that in the later part. But the assessment will always help you to understand the weakness. You will scan the system, your multiple systems at the same time, and you will identify the like a known issues, loopholes, or weakness or vulnerabilities which are available in that application system or a device, like the complete infrastructure. So normally there are like two major types: authenticated scan and a non-authenticated scan. So authenticated scan, this is something actually I will use some admin credentials. Like example, if you're using a laptop, always if you want to install or uninstall something, always you will go for the highest privileges like a permissions. So like administrator. So we will use some common admin credentials so that it can access all the systems. So always this authenticated scan will give you more important and accurate and in detail results. Okay. And unauthenticated scan, like we are not using any credentials, it will give the limited info. That is the only difference. And when a match is identified, the scanner will give you that outcome in a report format. So like a various formats, PDF, Excel, HTML, you can use any format which is available. But in that report, actually, you will see a lot of important information. What is that particular vulnerability and in which version it is available, on what is the criteria, on what basis I'm saying it is a vulnerability. Okay, example, if you're not going to fix it, what would be the impact? So this is also one of the important item because I know vulnerability exists, but what is the impact? And also it will give you the priority. So whether it is important to fix it on immediate basis, like a critical or a high vulnerability, it contains a lot of impact on your organization or a system. And also it will give you the solution. Okay, where you will go and find out the solution, where you can download it and fix it. So, and which version is actually fixing that issue. So it will contain all these details in the report so that an administrator can use it and start fixing it. But in between, there is a one more step called reporting, because I know there is a report available, But every system contains, even you consider your operating system, there are a lot of like applications which we are using, right, based on your usage, and each contains multiple vulnerabilities always. But again, I have to prioritize it, right? So, like if a system contains 1,000 vulnerabilities, I can't go ahead and fix everything in one shot, right? I can't upgrade Chrome and I can't upgrade Microsoft Office at the same time. I can take only one action at the same time. But what would be the priority? Of course, the priority level is given by the report. We can utilize it. Like I'll go ahead and fix the critical vulnerabilities first. That should be fine. But in case the priority is medium, but if you have an impact, so we can't take that risk as well, right? So, like example, you are having an internet facing server with a medium severity that can download some malware. You are having the high severity, which is an internal laptop. So, which one you have to prioritize? Of course, I'll always go with the server because it is an internet facing server. We have a lot of impact, right? So, always there will be a process to understand the risk behind that vulnerability, and we have to prioritize it as well. So that is where actually the reporting concept will come into the picture. We will prioritize it and we will prepare a plan or a report, and we will submit that to the stakeholders or a higher management, so they can start understanding it, what should be fixed first. And also always companies will fix strict deadlines. Like if there is a high vulnerability, you have to fix that in a maybe a week, sorry, a 1 days or 2 days. Like if there is a medium vulnerability, you have to fix that in a week gap. So that is how actually they'll plan this fixing. Also, there is a technical term or a process called related to this remediation, which is actually called patching. Okay. In simple, if I want to explain what is this patching, you will get an update from an application like operating system. You will install that update. Actually, that is called patching. There is a weakness or a vulnerability in the older version. So once you install the new version, it will patch that loophole. That's it. It is actually called patching. So there are patch management teams which will help us to do this patching, like updating all that systems to the latest version or applications to the latest version. So actually, it's a continuous life cycle for us. This is not something like a one stage. You will do it one time and you will leave it like that. That is not the case here actually. And also, if you understand properly, every month you will get an update from the Microsoft. You will have the latest updates. So because Microsoft will release all these patches on every second Tuesday, actually it is called as a patch Tuesday. Okay. So they will release updates for all the applications which are owned by them. Then you have to start fixing it. Okay, once the patches are available from the Microsoft, then all the organizations will perform the vulnerability scan. They will identify the assets which are actually like a prone to that vulnerabilities. They will start prioritizing it, they'll start fixing it. And also sometimes when you install that update, it might go for a reboot. Like as a bank, I want to update everything on my bank server. Actually, I'm eager to do that. But if it is asking for a reboot during the business hours, I can't reboot my server, right? It's always something, it will bring down my business, right? Application will not be available. So that is why sometimes you will see the maintenance window notifications from most of the bank servers. Actually, they'll do the patching during that window. Okay. So this is kind of a life cycle. So it will be happening on every month. So most preferable way is monthly. So they will perform the scan, they will identify the vulnerabilities, they will prioritize it. Of course, they will fix it. Fixing it will always will take, and we have to re-verify it actually. Okay, because example, once I fix the vulnerability, something which is not working as expected, right? Then definitely, what I have to do, I have to rescan and I have to re-verify it actually. Okay. Then also, during the re-verification, right? Example, if something is not fixed for me, then I have to always go for what is the reason why it is not fixed properly, And also I have to understand what is the reason, even though I install the latest patch, why it is not getting fixed. Even we have to see that as well. Okay. And on top of that, if there is any other issue, even we have to verify that as well. So what is the reason why that particular when I installed an update, but still it is not working as expected? What is the reason? So there is a kind of a troubleshooting will happen. We will fix that, and they will come back to you with the good result where it will resolve it will resolve all issues related to the patching as well. And there are like a common vulnerabilities related to your various IT applications, like outdated software. We discussed it, right? If there is an existing version is there which contains some issues or a known loopholes, we have to always get it to the latest version. And also, if you remember, for each and every application, like if you when the your operating system, there will be a tenure. After that tenure, it will be like end of life for us. So even your vendor won't support that. So we always recommend to not use outdated software because it contains a lot of issues, vulnerabilities. You have to fix them. Apart from the new features, there is a lot of security gaps. We have to address them first. And misconfigured systems, example, as I told, I installed an operating system, but I'm not putting a password, right? That is a kind of a misconfiguration. And unprotected APIs. Nowadays, everything is related to like APIs, right? You will always connect your application with the internet or internal application with the APIs. Then, if something which is not configured or not created properly, then that will lead to some security issues and weak credentials. This is something the common issue or a common practice we'll always maintain. We'll keep our name, date of birth, or a common patterns of passwords like a 1 2 3 4 or something. It's a weak credentials. Always, attacker will do some brute force attack. They will use some common techniques or common patterns about your password. They'll try to guess it. Okay, actually, this is a one way where actually our social media accounts are compromised, right? Why? How they will access your? Maybe you're using the weak credentials, weak password. They can guess it easily. And a lack of strong encryption. So if two persons or two systems are communicating, or you're sharing the information which is not in encrypted format, this is the one way. Like if like any man in the middle attack happen, so they can see your information. Like we are using HTTPS communication. It's an encrypted communication between your system to the destination. You can use even though you're sharing the file, why don't you use the WinZip and put it a password protected file? That is a one way to maintain the encryption. Of course, we have a disk level encryptions are there, like a BitLocker, file level encryption technologies are available. So there are something like a remediations for that. And one more, the critical and always the regular headache for our administrators is zero-day vulnerability. What is the zero day? Actually, it's an issue in the application, but nobody's identified so far. It is identified, but no fix it. There is no fix to address that issue. Actually, it's a known issue. Today we identified something, but there is no issue. And there is no lot of time available for that application vendor to fix that gap as well. Okay. So, of course, you know the vulnerability, you know the fix. Okay. We are in the safe hands. But if you know the vulnerability, there is no fix. That is where actually the major like your administration will come into the picture. You have to understand how this vulnerability will impact your organization. And as there is no fix until that vendor releases some fix, you have to always proactive. You have to monitor a lot of things. You have to utilize the infrastructure or the security tools, whatever which is available. So it will be like always 24/7. We have to monitor all your assets properly by using firewalls, proxies, IPS, lot of security technologies, which will help you to um, like understand or get a visibility on that security side as well. And unauthorized access, whoever actually to my data or maybe any particular file or a system, I have always give the right access to the right people, right? Example, um, I need administrator account only for my IT team. If I give an IT like a IT admin account or privileges to normal user, they'll keep on installing unnecessary softwares. Right? This is the best example. So always providing the unauthorized access is also a common vulnerability. So all these type of vulnerabilities are actually applicable to all your applications which are available in the system, your operating system. So if something related to these common vulnerabilities or maybe something which is not comes under this list, but it will impact your data privacy or your system security, then it will be considered as a vulnerability. And the benefits, always we are talking about the uh, the different types, why we need to do that, and also the impact if you're not going to do that. But the benefits also we need to understand. In my opinion, the first benefit will be proactive. Proactively, I'm fixing all my gaps in the network, so which is actually helping me to improve my security posture in the network. And on top of that, I know there are a lot of vulnerabilities or risks which are available in my organization, but I'm prioritizing it actually. Sorry. So because out of like 100 big list of risk for me, I know what to fix first and I know what to fix in the later stage. So which is actually having more impact, which is actually going to cause kind of a data breach or a like a cyber attack in my system or in my organization, I'll fix them first. I know what is the priority for my business. Accordingly, I'll go it. So I'm the decision maker, but at the same time, I will consider a lot of factors to fix that issue. And on top of that, I'm improving the security, right? Because I know where is the loophole, I'm fixing it. Like example, if you consider you have a big shopping mall with multiple entrances, one is more secured with a lot of back scanners, security cameras and everything. There is a one more entrance with no lot of security. So I know my weakness, then I'm start fixing it actually, right? I'm improving the security. So this is something like a proactive assessment. You will always do it on your network. You will prioritize it, you will fix it, and it's a continuous activity for us. So there are like a dedicated teams to do this activity regularly, and we always recommend to perform this at least once in a month. Identify the gaps, fix it, and always install the latest versions for any application, including your Windows as well. And on top of that, maintaining the compliance and the regulatory bodies as well, because on a country basis, if you go for European countries, you have a GDPR, and nowadays we have a DPDP Act in the India level, data privacy regulation. So we always recommend to go with the regulatory bodies. You have to maintain or adhere to that regulations as well, something which will always help you to keep safe your data as well. And I'm saving a lot of time because I'm not working on the reactive methods, right? Because something I already lost with a cyber attack or a data breach, I'm not working on the remediation. Instead of that, actually, I'm identifying the gaps and fixing it ahead so that I'll try to avoid those type of scenarios or situations in my network. It will save the time. Of course, it is cost effective always, because to fix something like a data breach happen, it contains lot of efforts. You need to hire multiple resources even from the outside on the vendor side, and it will be like a more cost effective approach. So compared to that, if you fix it early, your internal teams are actually always able to fix these gaps. Of course, you have a support from vendors as well, but still, compared to the reactive manner, proactive manner always will save a lot of money and time as well. These are like a holistic benefits from the vulnerability management. And the first important item is always it should be a regular activity, and it's not only to identify the gaps, you have to fix them as well. That is a one important aspect we have to consider. And in terms of vulnerability scans, there are the various scans. Earlier we discussed about authenticated scan or unauthenticated scan. When you're performing a scan, on one system or multiple systems in any organization. If you use the credentials, it's an authenticated, or you're not using an authenticated, that can be understandable. But in terms of like a perimeter, or maybe in terms of like a purpose of this particular scan, I can say majorly there are three different types of vulnerability scan. The first thing, I'll start with the environmental or a discovery scan. So we are always worried about our active assets, right? When that is the first thing we have to do in the vulnerability management life cycle. So to identify the active assets, we'll always go with this environmental or a discovery scan. So this step will help us to identify what are the active assets you are having in your environment. Now, within a company, out of 10,000 employees, or maybe you might have a 20,000 laptops or desktops or 100 servers. What are actually the active assets? Because I have a couple of laptops, always one will be in a sleeping mode. I'll only use one laptop which is active. So this scan will actually helping us to identify two important things. One is identify the live assets or active assets, and the second thing is it will help you to identify the new assets which are added into the network. Like as I said, employees will join, like a new employees will be there, you will purchase new servers, you will add some more new obligations into your network. So always you have to scan them as well, right? So I can't go ahead with the last month data. I need always like updated or accurate data. So that is where actually this environmental or discovery scan will help you to get more details about the latest asset list. Then I'll start prioritizing it. So I always go for the discovery scan first. It will give me the list of assets. Then after that, I'll go for the vulnerability scan. That is a better approach and the best practice as well. And internal scan, this is something like I want to scan all my internal assets. Like if you consider the LAN or WAN criterias, okay, I'll keep my vulnerability scanner in the LAN, my LAN network. I'll scan all my user system servers. So of course it will give me the similar results, but I'm doing this from the internal network. So I'm not doing something from the outside network WAN or somewhere from the different company. I'm doing this assessment only within my office network or a corporate network or organization network. So actually this will be considered as the internal scan. And there is a one more a scan type which is actually external scan. So like I can say I can segregate this into two ways. One is uh, like there is a particular zone called demilitarized zone, DMZ zone. In this zone, actually, we will always keep my internet facing servers, like your web servers, your email servers. I'll keep these servers into the internet facing zone. So it will be available to my employees or users from both office network and outside network. Like if you are connecting from home, even you'll be able to open that website, and you are connecting from office network, you'll be able to. So I'll keep the servers open to internet. So I'll separate it from the regular servers. So something happened to the DMZ zone, it will be only restricted at that zone level. Just I'm separating those servers. So I can scan these DMZ servers, DMZ zone servers, which are external facing. That is will be considered as an external scan because I want to do this from outside. And one more way is completely you will scan your entire network from the outside. Actually, you will try to utilize some tools or technologies. You will try to penetrate your network. Actually, you are doing like a official hacking activity in your network to identify the gaps. Um, there is a one more name which is actually the penetration testing. This also comes under the vulnerability exercises as well, assessment exercises. But in the pen test or penetration testing, we will scan that organization network. We will try to penetrate it. We'll try to actually attempt hack. We'll try to hack that network or get the access into that network from the outside. So it will help us to understand if any attacker or a hacker is trying to get into your premises through various applications, network devices, or employee systems, you can easily able to identify proactively. And internally also, you are scanning this, and also internally you are identifying the gaps as well. So there are like a multiple ways, right? I'm just understanding the weakness or loopholes in my system from all the possible ways. I'm doing the internal scan. I'm identifying the active or known or new assets in my network. Even I'm performing a scan from outside, which is giving me more accurate results. So I can provide more security. Okay. So if I want to like a sum up or like a summarize this entire vulnerability management process, like it always a proactive manner to identify the known vulnerabilities or within my IT infrastructure, including all the network elements such as workstations, servers, and network devices, other security applications. And if it is something like a known issue, then of course there will be a solution. I'm going to prioritize and fix it. So I will eliminate the risk. Okay. And if something like a 0-day vulnerability is there, until unless vendor provided that solution or a patch or update to fix that, I'll start monitoring it, which are actually like example, there is a 0-day vulnerability in a Chrome application. So what I'll do, I'll initially try to use my vulnerability scan to identify the systems which are running on, which are using the Chrome. Something is okay latest version, or something is actually having the older version or end of life version. Even I'll get to know all these details. So actually I'm preparing my uh, plan to handle or to address that 0-day attack or 0-day vulnerability. So this is like a holistic approach to always provide more insights about your loopholes or vulnerabilities. Also, it will be helping you to assess and proactively address the issues to improve the complete security posture on the network. So there are multiple vendors which will provide these scanning solutions in the market. So whenever organization is actually planning to go with the vulnerability management, they'll always start from the scratch. They will always build the asset inventory. They'll start the scanning process. What would be the better approach? So they have to dig a lot of things to provide the better process or to prepare the best approach to identify all the vulnerabilities according to their business. Okay, so this is all about the vulnerability management, and thanks a lot for giving this opportunity, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir,
Thank you,
for,
Rajesh.
for delivering an informative session on vulnerability management and cybersecurity involvement in business and also individual. Sir, your valuable inputs on vulnerability management truly enriched our understanding. The session really wonderful, sir, and clearly understood on vulnerability scans, threats, integrity loss, and also vulnerability impact during business hours exposed by you, sir. Thank you once again for your time and contribution. I extend my sincere thanks to all participants for joining and contributing to the success of today's session. Thank you, one and all.